Tonight, Hurricane Francine is about to make landfall, and we just learned literally minutes ago it has strengthened now to a Category 2. That's right. This hurricane is now a Category 2 storm. We're talking about life-threatening storm surge, flash flooding, super strong winds. New Orleans expected to take a direct hit, the possibility even of tornadoes. Our teams are live on the ground in Louisiana. Then the debate breathing some new life into a pretty wild conspiracy theory. Haitian migrants eating pets in one town. We are in Springfield tonight talking with people who are on edge there. And in tonight's original, late-term abortions taking on some of those election lies thrust into the spotlight. We're going to take you inside one of the only clinics performing the procedures, a desperate last resort for women who say they have nowhere else to turn. Plus, U.S. Olympic gymnastics champion, formerly now Jordan Chiles, a bronze medalist, getting emotional while speaking for the first time since she was stripped of that bronze, why she says it was more than just a medal that was taken from her. And we are just hours away, you see Taylor Swift there, from a potentially record-breaking VMA. With Taylor Swift fresh off her endorsement of Vice President Harris, could she pass Beyonce for the most moon men ever? We got it all covered tonight. Hey there, I'm Hallie, and we are starting tonight with breaking news as we're coming on the air. You know that 5 o'clock Eastern National Hurricane Center update? It has just come in about 90 seconds ago. And yes, Francine is a Category 2 storm, a Category 2 hurricane. It's expected to make landfall possibly as soon as this hour, maybe next hour in southern Louisiana. Our teams are there. I want to show you the water rising already down in New Orleans. Look at this here, a city that may take a direct hit soon, with people there getting ready for Francine to bring potentially a life-threatening storm surge. Look at the risk of flash flooding. You see this, Caesars, the Superdome there, the potential for hurricane-force winds, maybe even tornadoes with watches now in parts of Louisiana and Mississippi. Let me show you a live look at the clouds rolling in, the rain coming down there. Tonight, more than 2,300 Louisiana National Guardsmen are standing by, ready to support any affected areas. And I want to show you the map. We're expecting landfall to happen somewhere between Avery Island and the city of Houma. But flood watches, you see the Louisiana coast here, are in effect for some 9 million people in all the areas in yellow you see here, including Mississippi and southern Alabama, along with a little bit into the western panhandle of Florida. Folks there, they are getting ready. They are bracing for what's to come, getting together food, getting together water, laying in place sandbags to hopefully prevent their homes from flooding, as the president is authorizing FEMA to coordinate disaster relief efforts in the state of emergency in Louisiana as well. Let's get to our team who's covering all of it, and we have them all out in the field. We've got Jesse Kirsch in place. We have Bill Cairns ready with the forecast as well. Jesse, let me start with you, and we'll get to Kathy Park in just a second, too. You're in New Orleans. Flights are canceled there. Talk us through it with the curfews in place and schools shut down. What are you seeing, and what do you expect in the next hour?
Yeah, so, Hallie, the winds have just started to pick up again a good amount. With the heavier rain that we've seen so far for the day has already passed through, and I say so far because we are expecting conditions to continue deteriorating. We could be seeing 3 to 5 inches of rainfall per hour at the worst of Francine. And as you mentioned, we're still waiting for landfall of this storm. The track has been shifting, as it always does, down to the wire, and so it's now looking like New Orleans is closer to, if not directly, in the path of Francine. What our team has reminded me of repeatedly is that on the right side of a hurricane, which is where New Orleans has been leading up to this moment, the expectation is that this would be the right side of the hurricane, and that is the side that usually gets the most devastating wind and rainfall, so we'll be keeping an eye out for impact. You can see a car just went by me. I see another one way off in the distance. We have seen some traffic on the roads, but not a lot. Not a lot of people out there, and that's what officials are hoping to see. They have been asking people in the city of New Orleans specifically since noon Eastern to be sheltering in place. And at a press conference earlier with the governor of Louisiana, he said that at this point it is past the time to be evacuating. Now is the time, Hallie, to be hunkering down and waiting for landfall.
Yeah, no kidding, Jesse. Jesse Kirsch live first there in New Orleans. Let me go to Kathy Park, who's over in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Talk us through the expectations where you are and how it compares to hurricanes past in that area. This is a region that is not unfamiliar, obviously, with the threat of really intense storms.
Hallie, that's absolutely right. So we are here in downtown Baton Rouge, and when you look around, it's pretty much a ghost town because businesses, stores, all shut down today in advance of Hurricane Francine. But as far as the conditions go, this is probably the worst we have seen it so far. We've been out here all day long. The rain is really starting to pick up. The winds also picking up. And as Jesse mentioned just a few minutes ago, conditions will likely deteriorate over the next couple of hours. The governor stressing this is a time to hunker in place, ride out the storm, find shelter. And even after the storm passes, do not go out because we want to give ample opportunity for those emergency responders to do their thing, to work, and also utility crews as well to make those repairs. I do want to point out something, Hallie. You might be seeing these flashing lights. We saw this move in just a few minutes ago. This is a vehicle that is holding emergency response equipment at the federal level. So even at the federal level, local, state level, different agencies are coming together ahead of this storm. They're mobilizing quickly, and they're also monitoring the track as closely as we are. But here in Baton Rouge, we heard from the mayor earlier this morning. She has said that ahead of the storm, they prepared for days, cleaning out the drains. They pulled out 30 tons of debris, so a whole lot of debris, and she felt confident going into Francine that any rain that we get here in Baton Rouge, the drain system, the infrastructure here in Baton Rouge would handle it. And having conversations with folks yesterday, Hallie, 2016, that is a year that a lot of folks will never forget because in this area, in August of 2016, there was a system that stalled. Some parts of Baton Rouge got 20 inches of rain. So a lot of folks scarred from that incident. They know what they had to deal with then. They don't want a repeat of that again this time around, so they know that it is imperative to prepare early, and that's what they did earlier this week ahead of Francine.
Kathy Park, thank you very much. Bill Cairns, let me get to you. You've had a Sept to digest that latest National Hurricane Center update as this hurricane has now strengthened to a Cat 2. Talk to us about what that means for its track and its impact.
It means more significant wind damage to trees and maybe some minor damage to like shingles and roofs. So increasing by 10 miles per hour can do that. And a lot of little things have been happening that may have a big impacts over the next 12 hours. First off, notice the wobble here. It made a big wobble to the east, and now the Hurricane Center said it's kind of resumed more of a motion more towards the north here. But it doesn't really matter. This is not a huge storm, but the eye of this thing is enormous. I'll explain that in a second. So there's the new update. It's growing fast, too. This storm is going to be in and out of here in a hurry, moving at 17 miles per hour. Winds are up to about 100 right now. Let's focus in on that eye because this is where that 100-mile-per-hour wind gust is possible, and this is where we will see the most significant damage. You do not want to go through this, especially when it looks the way it does right now. And Dulek is in the middle of that right now. Morgan City's in the middle of that. Homa is. The eye from east to west is 90 miles across. That is huge. The distance between Baton Rouge up here in New Orleans is about 90 miles. So if we just take this northwards, the eastern portion of the eye could be in New Orleans and the western portion could be in Baton Rouge. I mean, it will consolidate a little bit and shrink as it weakens and goes northwards, but just gives you an idea that this big mass is what we're going to be tracking over the next couple hours. Anyone that goes through this ring of thunderstorms and the intense winds will be losing power, and that's where the damage will occur. And these are the cities that's happening in right now. As far as the max wind gusts go, we've had a report over 100 miles per hour on oil rigs off the coast. We've had numerous reports along the coastal areas around 60 to 70. Patterson's now at 53. Once you get above 50, that's when we're going to start getting power outages. Notice Baton Rouge and Louisiana, New Orleans, right around 33 and 26. You have to wait to this main band. This is really the main show. And as soon as this weakens and dies off, that's when the storm will quickly die off. That's what we'll be tracking. So that main band, as it heads northwards, still will have the chance to produce 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts in Baton Rouge and New Orleans, and possibly, as we mentioned, anywhere from 80 to 100 where it's making landfall down on the coast. So, Hallie, a lot of those big shifts, the tiniest little wiggles. I mean, if New Orleans doesn't go through that heavy rain band I just showed you, then they won't have a lot of damage and a lot of power outages. But if they do go through it, I mean, it's like 10 times worse. It's going to be a very close call as we track that this evening. And I do expect that landfall to happen during our show in the next 2 hours.
Okay, so you think within the next 2 hours we're going to see this storm hit land, essentially?
Yes.
Okay, Bill Cairns, I know you're staying close to that camera. We're going to come back to you frequently, I know, along with our teams in the field, watching all of it, as it is our big story tonight. Our other big story is happening out west. As we're just getting word from L.A., 3 people have been rescued west of Mount Baldy after being trapped because of the massive bridge fire. So the group was out there. They lost access. They couldn't get on any roads. right, because of this fire. So officials said they would have to be airlifted out. We're going to bring you more on that rescue as soon as we get it. But you can see the flames here. It's enormous. It's very windy. It is extremely dry. And 3 big fires have erupted in that region in just the last few days. The bridge fire exploding exponentially, getting 10 times bigger in just a single day. It is now the largest of those 3 big fires in Southern California, burning nearly 48,000 acres. And we're showing you here in all, some 70 fires are burning all across the western U.S. Morgan Chesky is joining us now. We talked about the conditions being very difficult, not just for the firefighters, but to contain the spread of these flames here. Talk us through it.
Yeah, Hallie, a testament to just how dry it is. A couple days ago, we were talking about the dangers of the line fire. And then, as you mentioned, 24 hours is all it took for the bridge fire to explode and now become the largest fire in the entire state, or just outside of the community of Wrightwood. And unfortunately, we've seen too many scenes very similar to this one. This home, one of several, that's clearly a total loss as a result of the flames that tore through this area last night, prompting overnight evacuations. The good news to report right now, authorities confirming there are no reported fatalities at this point in time, Hallie. There are several reported injuries. Fortunately, crews have been able to try and protect as many homes as possible, but that wasn't the case for this 2-story home. They obviously came here for the gorgeous mountain views. That's been replaced today with an absolutely heartbreaking scene. I want you to hear from one resident in particular about the stress of the last 24 hours. Take a listen.
This is pretty close. When you can feel the heat and you hear everything cracking, it's a different feeling. I have my car running, ready to go, and if I seen houses catching fire, yeah, I'd have to leave.
Now, Hallie, earlier today, we were able to follow fire crews near one particular neighborhood where we could see flames approach to the very edge of properties. Fortunately, crews worked overnight cutting a fire line. They're currently doing their best to protect those homes right now. But I have to tell you, while we were there, just seeing a shift of wind, more than enough to push flames very easily. And there was so much dry fuel around. That is incredibly concerning. Hallie?
Well, so pull that thread, right? The weather forecast and what that means for the push ahead here.
So as horrible as it is that we have such an abundance of dry fuel and conditions here, the one silver lining today, Hallie, that we have not seen over the last 72 hours has been the temperature. We were pushing triple digits in a lot of these areas up until this morning. When we arrived earlier today, it was about 60 degrees. That is a huge relief for firefighters, not just helping them stay fresh on the front lines, but it's also trying to tamp down some of that high heat that only fuels the trees and the grass and anything that can go up just like that. Hopefully that will make a dent in this firefight. We know that the other significant fire, the line fire, not too far from us, 14% contained, but we have yet to reach significant containment on this bridge fire that tonight is keeping the community of Wrightwood very much a ghost town. Hallie?
Can only imagine. Morgan Chesky, glad to have you there on the ground. Stay safe. Thank you. Let's take you back here to Washington and beyond, because we're getting ready to see President Biden and Vice President Harris at a 9/11 wreath-laying ceremony just across the river at the Pentagon for the 23rd anniversary of the attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people. All of it just hours after we saw this lineup here. You see that there? Vice President Harris, former President Trump, President Biden, Senator J.D. Vance, essentially three of the top 4 candidates on the ticket in November for the White House at a ceremony at Ground Zero. A really interesting moment right on the heels of that debate. Did you watch? I'm sure you did. I'm sure you've seen the highlights all day by now. We are now getting in some of the viewership numbers. These are just into us in the last hour. And guess what? Nearly 70 million of you watched last night, according to Nielsen. That's the most watched debate in just about 16 years, at least from a network. And a big question now, will we see the two of them on the debate stage again before November? Big question. Some clues, some tea leaves you could read into either way. VP Harris's team says, yeah, bring it on. We're game. We're down. Let's do it. The former president, he is not quite so committal, although he does seem to be cracking the door. And listen, if one of the themes last night was former President Trump taking the bait when Kamala Harris laid it down, tomorrow it's going to be putting these performances to the test. Look at these battleground states that the candidates are going to be in. The former president in Arizona, Vice President Harris hitting North Carolina. All of it as state election officials are putting out a new warning that widespread mailing issues could disrupt voting, with the first mail-in ballots set to go out next week in PA, and then battleground states beyond that later in September. Remember, voting is basically almost here. We don't have to wait till November. Peter Alexander is not waiting until November. But what's so interesting here is as we look ahead to what's next. Yes, it's this sort of battleground barnstorming that you're going to see from these candidates. It's that vice presidential debate on October 1st. And then it's question mark, debate number 2. Former President Trump has had a shift even in just the last 19 hours, at first suggesting he didn't want to because in his belief, he won so bigly, to paraphrase it. Vice President Harris said, we'll do it. Now the former president seems to be opening the door to it. Where do things stand based on the reporting that you're doing here?
Yeah, bigly, clearly an adverb for those of you planning to use it at home here. It's not really clear where things stand right now. We can only speak to what we've heard from the former president on this specifically. He spoke out about it last night, immediately after the debate, again today, this morning, and this afternoon, saying now he feels less inclined to do another debate after in the past saying that he was in favor of multiple debates. Here's part of what we heard from the former president just a short time ago. Listen.
I would do NBC. I'd do Fox, too. I do Fox, too, but right now we have to determine whether or not we even want to do it. We had a great night last night.
Are we going to do a rematch? I just don't know. We'll think about it. That's what else he said in the course of those comments a little bit earlier to reporters while he was on the road in advance of a memorial at the Shanksville site in Pennsylvania today. So where does it stand, Hallie? Candidly, we just don't know at this hour.
Yeah.
Obviously, there were those advisors, those allies of the former president who say he needs to do another to make up for an effort that they thought was certainly subpar last evening.
One of the things that the vice president's team loves to see here is this big celebrity endorsement. Everybody knows, I think by now, that Taylor Swift came out, said she is going to back the Harris-Walz ticket. Interestingly, we're finding out, because this question exists, right? Does that matter? What does that mean from a very quantifiable perspective here? We're getting a sense of it now with the GSA, the General Services Administration, telling our team that more than 330,000 people ended up on vote.gov from the link that Taylor Swift posted. Yep. Hundreds of thousands of people are reading and paying attention and, in some instances, acting on what she's telling them to do. How much is the Harris camp looking at that and going, boy, let's get her ready for October?
Well, they certainly think it doesn't hurt them. Frankly, I think they think that maybe in a better circumstance it would have come out on a different occasion because in some ways it sort of gets buried by her debate performance there. But the bottom line is they are going to take this as a win and do the best that they can to amplify it. There is no indication to this point whether, in fact, Taylor Swift is going to participate in any further or any campaigning of any kind here. She said her decision in speaking out was because she had real concerns. One of her biggest nightmares, she said, was that there would be AI used to sort of indicate she was supporting someone else. You remember in recent weeks there was some AI indications that she would be supporting Donald Trump. The Trump campaign had touted as much, so she came out. But they can do a lot, the campaign can, with this very photo, the cat in her arms, and the way she signed off that post to her 284 million followers. Hallie was Taylor Swift, childless cat lady, so it certainly has the tentacles, the paws, I guess you would say, that it could resonate.
Pause indeed. Obviously, this all comes down to persuading voters. That's what this is about. The question is, did the debate do anything to persuade voters? Our friend and colleague Shaquille Brewster was out, Shaq, talking to folks, trying to get a sense just today, right, new today, on how they feel. What changed, if anything, for them? Let me play a little bit of what Shaq heard.
She hit it out of the park. I mean, I think she rattled him from the very beginning, and it felt like he was always on the defense responding to her.
I think it was a little heavy on poking at each other rather than getting to the actual terms of what we needed to hear about how to run America.
So that's what you're hearing from some of these folks who are looking at these super high-profile moment, as we said, more than 60 million viewers last night. That's a massive audience, Peter. It dwarfs the DNC and the RNC, which are hovering right around 25, 26 million.
I think you're right, and not only is it those people who watch, but honestly the conversations they have with others as well. Both campaigns realize that this is going to be one of those debates decided, one of those elections decided at the margins where they're hoping not just their supporters will come out and vote, but their supporters will bring others with them throughout all parts of this country here. I think what's been striking in my conversations and what I've been watching from our conversations with some of those undecided voters is it appears right now that after Harris's strong performance last night, that they are certainly more open to giving her a look. It's not clear whether they're willing to give her their endorsement or their vote just yet. It means there's still some time to make decisions. But as you know, the voting process begins soon. This is no longer a country that votes on Election Day. They vote for the weeks and even more than a month ahead of time. This process kicks off very soon in earnest, Hallie.
Hey, Peter, real quick before I let you go, what's up with this picture of President Biden in a Trump hat?
It's a good question. Let's throw it up for our audience so you can see it. Not something you ever anticipated seeing. The Trump War Room, one of his advocacy groups, as it were, from the campaign, writing, "Thanks for the support, Joe." The White House making it very clear that Joe Biden was not endorsing Donald Trump in any way. In fact, he was in Pennsylvania saying in a show of unity on this 9/11 day that he was willing to wear a hat that was presented to him by a Trump supporter in the room. He put it on briefly and then returned it to that supporter. So for those who see this, we are told it's not AI, but in no way does it demonstrate any support for Donald Trump.
Peter Alexander doing some blocking and tackling there in the White House, covering quite a bit for us tonight. Peter, thank you. Let's take you to this fiery opening to the federal trial of former police officers accused of brutally kicking and punching Tyre Nichols to death during a traffic stop, with lawyers telling the jury they stood by Nichols' body and laughed after beating him. Now, cameras are not allowed in court for this federal trial, so these are the sketches that we're getting in. And you can see the three men pleading not guilty. They could face life in prison if they're convicted. Nichols' mother speaking with reporters about all of this in just the last couple of hours. I want to show you.
Our hope is that they're found guilty and to show the world that my son was a good person and he wasn't the criminal that they're trying to make him out to be.
The men are also facing second-degree murder charges in a state case set to go to trial after this federal one ends. Priscilla Thompson is following all of it from Memphis. Priscilla, you've been in and around the courthouse here. Walk us through what's happening now and what's next after the openings.
Yeah, Hallie, so as we just walked out, there was a video expert on the stand, the person who synchronized all of these body cam and sky cam videos to really paint a picture of what happened, was being questioned. Right before that, there was a nurse practitioner who treated Tyre Nichols on the night that he was brought to the hospital. But the bulk of today has been about these opening statements between the defense and federal prosecutors. Federal prosecutors laying out a case that they say includes officers who, quote, took turns punching, kicking, and batoning Nichols. Meanwhile, the defense attorneys are saying that Tyre Nichols was aggressive. They are saying that he reached for one of the officers' guns, and they are saying that their actions did not violate Memphis police policy. In fact, one defense attorney saying that what they did was only maybe 10% of what they would have been authorized to do according to the policy. So blaming the policy here, not the officers. But of course, it's going to be up to the jury to decide who they believe in this case. And I will tell you, the big bombshell that a lot of folks are watching for is the two officers who are not in that courtroom today, who have already pled guilty and taken plea deals to these federal and state charges. Federal prosecutors today saying that those officers are going to testify that this group of officers was angry that Nichols had chosen to run from them, and so they were punishing him with this beating, and that then after that they tried to portray him as someone who was aggressive and exaggerate what had happened in order to cover it up. And just as a reminder, as we're talking about this federal trial, the three officers at the center of this right now are Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith. They have all pleaded not guilty to charges of using excessive force, failure to intervene, witness tampering, and more. And if convicted, they could face life in prison on the federal charge. And as you noted, their state charge on those second-degree murder charges expected to happen after this one. Hallie?
Priscilla Thompson live for us there in Memphis. Thank you very much. A lot more to get to here on the show, including what an NFL superstar is acknowledging about his traffic stop this week and what he wants to see happen to the officer involved. Plus, Hurricane Francine, now perhaps just minutes from making landfall, how people are getting ready. We're going to take you back live to the Gulf Coast in just a sec. Stay with us. Tuesday's presidential debate causing some big headaches for officials in Springfield, Ohio tonight, after former President Trump poured gasoline on an apparent conspiracy theory's fire, repeating in front of this audience, huge audience, these baseless claims migrants are kidnapping and eating pets in town, the dogs and cats of Springfield locals. Springfield city manager earlier today saying this is not what he wants his city to be known for. Look at this.
It is disappointing that some of the narrative surrounding our city has been skewed by misinformation circulating on social media and further amplified by political rhetoric in the current highly charged presidential election cycle.
So Mr. Trump's comments at the debate came after days of online rumors spreading that Haitian migrants in Springfield were going after people's pets. Again, baseless, seemingly pulled out of the internet's dark corners and into the mainstream, amplified in a social media post by Mr. Trump's running mate. NBC's Yamiche Alcindor is in Springfield for us. So you have been working on this for the course of the last 48 hours, ever since this kind of exploded onto the national scene. There is a growing Haitian community in the city, and I know you've been talking with members of that community. Walk us through the dynamics here. What do we need to know, and what have you heard today?
Well, people here, Haitian immigrants here, are really reeling from these baseless claims, these unfounded claims being spread by Donald Trump and other Republicans, former President Trump and other Republicans. And they tell me that they came legally here to Springfield because of the federal programs that allowed them to come into the United States from Haiti. But they also came here because the city itself was advertising new manufacturing jobs as well as its affordability. So they were trying to get people to move to Springfield, and that's how this Haitian population got here. And now people are feeling really pained and shocked by what they're hearing. Take a listen to one Haitian community leader who talked to me specifically about Donald Trump and the consequences of his words. Take a listen.
They just believe that their words have no impact, and it's not true. So immigrants in Springfield, especially Haitians, they are so concerned for their lives.
So is this really a trauma on top of a trauma for Haitian immigrants?
Definitely, that's what it is. I mean, they are normally put on us more than what we have been through before.
So many people came here fleeing gang violence and insecurity in Haiti and then had to start their lives all over. So people who maybe were doctors are now working in factories. So people were already having a hard time, but trying to adjust because they did see Springfield as a welcoming place. But now they're really worried about harassment. I talked to a number of Haitian immigrants who didn't even want to go on camera because they said that people are at their jobs asking them, do you eat cats? And their neighbors are also harassing and threatening them, saying that they shouldn't be here anymore. So a tough situation here as there are a number of residents here who are believing what are really baseless claims about, of course, Haitians abusing animals, Hallie.
So you talk about this baseless claim, right, rooted in a racist conspiracy theory. How did it get into the info ecosystem, if you will? How did it end up from, like, sort of the rumor mill and sort of the weird parts of the internet to a nationally televised debate stage?
Well, first off, there was an unrelated case of a woman who was not Haitian, who was actually a U.S. citizen, who was involved in a case dealing with some gruesome issues with a cat. That then was taken into the kind of conservative conspiracy theory land,
right?
And it was then started turning into this, yes, and it was not even in Springfield, it was in Canton, Ohio. And then you had Senator J.D. Vance, spread that baseless claim, talking about the fact that he had heard from constituents and from others that Haitians were kidnapping cats and eating animals. And then, of course, we saw former President Donald Trump repeat those same claims on the national debate stage. And that was really where you saw this really amplify and blow up. And now people here in Springfield are saying that that's just not true. The city officials saying there's no evidence for that, though they do say they do want more resources for the influx of Haitians that have come, of something like 15,000 of them. But they're saying that they want to welcome these people and that they're not a problem. Hallie.
Yamiche Alcindor live for us there in Springfield. Yamiche, thank you so much for being there. Appreciate that. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, new video out of Ukraine showing its military using so-called dragon drones. Look at this. These are these sort of look like yellow balls of fire with tails. They drop flames down below. Officials say these drones have an accuracy like no other weapon. We don't know where or when they're being deployed. Number 2, a new weight loss pill from Novo Nordisk could cut body weight by up to 13% after 3 months, according to some early stage trial results. That's like twice the rate of some of these other GLP-1s, so they're called drugs like Ozempic, Wegovy, etc. Those are injections. This is obviously a pill. The company says the pill still needs more research before it hits shelves, but the next phase of the trials has already begun. Number 3, NFL star Tyreek Hill acknowledging today he could have handled that traffic stop better, the one that ended with him detained and handcuffed just hours before the season opener this weekend. But Hill is calling for the officer involved to be fired. You're looking at some of the video here. The Dolphin star was pulled out of his car. He ended up face down on the ground before the game. The officer involved has been put on administrative leave. His lawyer could not be reached for comment. Number 4, HBO is looking for the next trio to play Harry, Ron, and Hermione in a new TV series, Harry Potter specifically. It's a casting call, and it's suggesting maybe an April 2025 start date. It notes they're committed to inclusive casting, so if you think you can be one of these 3, these iconic 3, go ahead, throw your hat in the ring. your sorting hat, if you will. Number 5, a new fight in Paris over the Olympic rings on the Eiffel Tower. So the mayor's like, hey, let's keep those rings up on the Eiffel Tower indefinitely. They look good. The family of the Eiffel Tower's engineer says, well, wait a second, not so fast. Since the rings weren't part of the original Eiffel Tower design, they say, they should come down after this Olympic year is over, after 2024. What do you think? Do you want to see the rings stay on the Eiffel Tower or not? We'll see. All right, I want to bring you back to Louisiana now, back to what's happening here at home, because any minute now we are watching for Hurricane Francine to make landfall. Remember, as a Category 2 storm, as we just found out about 30 minutes ago in that update from the National Hurricane Center. Terrebonne Parish is already being slammed by that northern eye wall as folks there are still rebuilding 3 years after the just disastrous Hurricane Ida. Remember that? Category 4 storm back in 2021. It hit really hard, destroying a lot of houses, crippling the power grid. I want to bring in a couple of newsmakers here. Jason Bajaran, the president of Terrebonne Parish, along with Sheriff Tim Saunier. Sheriff Tim, thank you for being with us, both of you. Let me start with sort of the impact of Ida and what we're bracing for as Francine is expected to make landfall by our forecast, maybe within the next 90 minutes or so. Tell me what you're seeing on the ground and what is your biggest concern? Sheriff, I'll start with you.
All right. Well, we had a lot of rainfall last week, and so there's a lot of ground saturation. So when you're looking at down power lines and trees, really as that wind makes headway into our parish, you know, I'm concerned of that. But we have people out there who are monitoring those type of things, because once the storm passes, getting roads cleared, and as you can see some of the footage from Ida, you know, a lot of times down power lines, it's hard for emergency vehicles to get around and people to move around. So that's one of our priorities, and we're still watching the south area, our coastal areas, as a storm surge. But I think we're gonna fare pretty well. I think that dry air that's kind of picking up the storm is kind of taking out some of the back end of the storm.
Jason, do you have any concerns about the levee system's ability to handle what could be a pretty intense storm surge?
Not based on the information we have. We look at storm surge models depending on when the storm's going to hit, which way the wind's blowing, and how fast it's coming in. All that stuff matters. And storm surges are going to be in the areas of the highest parts of our levees. You can see a plug control structure right there, and so a lot of that stuff in some areas is 15 foot. And so when it comes to the worst case scenario where the storm hits, we're actually better off than we could have been.
Sheriff, what about power outages? Is there a sense that you've got a brace for the potential for that could last for days here? Do you think folks are ready?
Well, again, that depends on a lot of our power lines are elevated because of the saturation. So that is a big concern. I can tell you some of us were on generator already, but that was expected, especially during a storm. But it's how much damage we're going to be dealing with the storm as far as getting power restored is going to depend on that wind and that saturation. That is a concern from the down power lines, the trees or whatnot, because of course, once that happens, then we're dealing with a lot of power issues.
We've mentioned that Francine is obviously picking up strength, now a Category 2 storm. Jason, what is your message to people in your community, to people in the surrounding area in and around Louisiana as the storm gets ready to hit land?
We're hunkering down. We're making sure that family is safe. Everything with property should be completed. Stay inside. Stay off the roads. We don't want to put any of our first responders at risk. And so once the storm passes, we're hoping it's going to go through here quickly. We're going to get out, do some assessments, and start working on repairs. And so the more people out and about moving around, it just slows down that process. So give us some time to get out there and get everything taken care of before everybody gets out and about.
Jason Bajaran, Sheriff Tim Saunier, thank you very much for being with us tonight. A lot of folks are thinking about you down there along the Gulf Coast. Appreciate your time on what I know is a busy one for you. When we come back, a lot more to get to here on the show, including what NBC News is learning about the next court hearing for this guy. You recognize him, Justin Timberlake, in his Hamptons DWI case. Plus, an Olympian former bronze medalist saying her heart was broken after being stripped of her win. That emotional first in-person response from Jordan Chiles in response to the controversy after a break. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day, and because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Midwest Bureau, Michigan's Attorney General closing the investigation into Michigan State University after the sex abuse scandal by former campus Dr. Larry Nassar. Remember, Nasser, who also worked for USA Gymnastics, is serving decades in prison for sexually abusing hundreds of young athletes. The investigation was looking into what the school might have known, with the state's AG saying they found no new incriminating evidence. Out of our Northeast Bureau, Justin Timberlake is expected to plead guilty to a lesser charge in court on Friday related to that intoxicated driving arrest in the Hamptons, according to a DA spokesperson. Remember, Timberlake was pulled over back in June for allegedly driving through a stop sign and then failing a sobriety test. At the time, he pleaded not guilty. His attorney has not immediately responded to NBC's request for comment. Also out of our Northeast Bureau, rescue crews pulling a man out of a marsh near Cape Cod after somebody heard his cries for help. He said he'd been stuck there. Listen to this. 2 days. They had to get chainsaws out to clear a path to be able to get him out. No word on how he ended up there, but fortunately, he's expected to be okay. Let's talk about one of these stars of the USA gymnastics team at the Olympics this year. Tonight, speaking publicly and emotionally in her first interview since being stripped of her bronze medal at the Paris Games. Here's Jordan Chiles.
The biggest thing that was taken from me was that it was the recognition of who I was, not just my sport, but the person I am.
You can see she's really choked up there. There was that huge controversy. Remember, Chiles, given the bronze medal, awarded it in the women's floor exercise after her coaches. She hadn't wanted it first. Her coaches filed this inquiry over the difficulty score, basically saying, well, wait a second, she did a harder routine than you think. She deserves a higher score. There was a whole back and forth, petitions, appeals, etc. She got the bronze at the time, then later was stripped of that first individual Olympic medal for her after the appeal that got her the bronze was overturned because it came in 4 seconds late. Yasmin Vasugian is joining us now. A whole thing, right? I mean, it was days after the competition that she ended up needing to return her bronze medal that she basically was going to go home with here. What else did she say about sort of the impact that this has had on her? You can tell it has some weight.
Could you imagine having to go through that, right? Receiving the bronze medal, the high of receiving that on the public stage at the Paris Olympics, the lows of having it taken away. She talks about the harassment that she faced online. By the way, she was speaking at the Forbes Power Women's Summit. She talks about, and we saw it there, Hal, right? As she kind of got choked up, the real extreme emotional toll this has taken it on her. She wants justice. She wants peace. And she actually believes this was about the color of her skin. Let's take more of a listen of what she had to say, and then we'll talk on the other side.
To me, everything that has gone on is not about the medal. It's about, my skin color. It's about the fact that there were things that have led up to this position of being an athlete. And I felt like everything has been stripped.
By the way, this was the first time that she was speaking out since all of this has taken place. She talked about how, when you are an Olympic gymnast, you dedicate your entire life to training for an event like that on the world stage, and how this has also stripped her of her love for the sport of the Olympics. And she hearkened back to 2018 when she had an emotionally abusive coach and said at that time she had also lost love for the sport of gymnastics. And again, now she has lost love for the sport of gymnastics because of the controversy surrounding this. And again, she mentioned it. It's not just about the medal, but all the surrounding things that happen with the medal. And despite the fact that she mentions this, she got so much support on the national stage, it was hard for her to hear it, because it was such a dark time for her. But she did say, as you would expect from a U.S. Olympian, she'll be back and she will rise again.
I was just going to ask you, did she say anything about signals for the next Olympics? Did she?
Yeah, she'll be back. She's going to rise again. That's the type of person you need to be to reach that type of pinnacle in your Olympic career.
Yasmin Vasugian, so interesting. Thank you for bringing that conversation to us. Appreciate it. Coming up. Our team headed to Colorado, one of the few places, one of the few facilities performing so-called late-term abortions. What they found talking with doctors and patients in our original. To tonight's original now with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And tonight, It's abortions that happen later in pregnancies, a topic put very much back into the spotlight just last night at that debate when former President Trump was critical of them, claiming some happen even after the baby was born. To be clear, there is no such thing as a post-birth abortion. That is obviously illegal in every state. Abortions later in pregnancy generally make up a tiny fraction of all procedures. NBC News visited one of the few clinics across the country that still performs them, saying that they provide a service for women, the clinic says, in the most dire circumstances, women who they say often have no other choice, nowhere else to turn. Here's NBC's Dasha Burns.
Behind these doors is one of only 5 clinics in the country where women can access the rarest and most controversial form of abortion.
The majority of women who come to see you, what is their circumstance?
It ranges from the 12-year-old kid who's pregnant from her stepfather to the 45-year-old woman who desperately wants to have a baby and finds out that she has a fatal illness that is incompatible with being pregnant.
Dr. Warren Hearn and his team in Boulder, Colorado specialize in 2nd and 3rd trimester abortion.
These are all layers of bulletproof glass?
Correct.
A practice that sparks backlash, even violence.
Have you had an attack here?
Yeah, there were 5 shots fired through the front window in 1988.
And is the subject of intense national debate. Those against the practice say it's simply too late in a pregnancy to terminate.
The Democrats are radical because the 9 months is just a ridiculous situation where you can do an abortion in the 9th month.
About 1% of abortions are performed after 21 weeks, according to a CDC study. Dr. Hearn says his clinic doesn't do abortions in the 8th or 9th months of pregnancy, and that they're extraordinarily rare across the country, only happening in an emergency hospital setting if there's a critical need for the patient. He tells us he doesn't want to do this work, but unforeseen circumstances create a need for it, and that strict abortion bans in red states are partly to blame for an increase in patients seeking him out because it's taking them longer to find care.
What is the emotional experience of the patients that come and see you?
Well, great distress and anguish.
How often are women coming to you when their life is at risk?
That's happened all the time.
Many of the women who come to Dr. Hearn are dealing with very wanted pregnancies that have gone very wrong, like the family that wrote Dr. Hearn this letter.
There are no words or gifts that can say thank you enough for what you've done for our family. This was the scariest, hardest thing I have ever experienced.
We visited that family, who asked we not use their last name out of privacy concerns. They live in Texas, where nearly all abortions are banned except in limited cases to save a woman's life or health. Last year, they tried to expand their family and conceived a daughter. Then, 24 weeks into the pregnancy, they received a tragic diagnosis, a severe fetal anomaly, and possible consequences for Emma's future fertility.
We looked at each other and immediately just knew, as husband and wife, that that was the best decision for our family to have an abortion. I think it's just something that you never, ever, ever think that will happen to you, or a decision that you will have to make. And then it just is earth-shattering when it falls into your lap.
Unfortunately, the immediate recommendation was to go out of state.
A year later, the couple became parents again to Louie, whom they call their miracle baby. But their loss has left a permanent mark.
My heart and mind have been forever changed about this issue in the worst way. It feels that abortion is essential health care. The second takeaway is to say that abortion bans, exceptions to abortion bans, don't work.
Right. Well, that helps.
But not all of Dr. Hearn's patients are in Emma's shoes. Some are pushed too late into unwanted pregnancies due to abortion bans or long wait times at clinics in the post-Roe era, like Willow, who asked us not to show her face and only use her first name for her safety.
There were no signs. I didn't realize that I was pregnant because my periods are irregular.
Why did you want to have an abortion?
One, I don't want to be a parent. Second, I can't afford it.
Low on funds, she went to the only place she could get a free pregnancy test and ultrasound, a religious nonprofit crisis pregnancy center that she says delayed her care after her positive pregnancy test.
But I had to then wait 2 weeks to get an ultrasound.
The ultrasound revealed Willow was 5 months into her pregnancy.
I was devastated and terrified.
Willow is from Colorado, where there are no gestational limits on abortion, but she still struggled to find a clinic with available appointments that could perform the procedure.
2 clinics had told me no, turned me away. When after the 3rd clinic I called, they told me no again because of how far along I was.
So if you had gotten that ultrasound sooner, you actually might not have been turned away by some of those clinics.
Yes.
Since Roe was overturned, 14 states have enacted near total abortion bans, and 4 more have bans after 6 weeks, according to the Guttmacher Institute, a nonprofit that tracks the data and supports access to abortions.
More than 50% of my patients come from red states where they can get no help.
As abortion remains a top political issue in 2024, Dr. Hearn vows to keep going.
It matters for the health of the woman. It matters for their families. It matters for our society, and now it matters for freedom.
Dasha Burns, NBC News, Boulder, Colorado.
Our thanks to Dasha for that reporting. Still to come here on the show, it is possible that Taylor Swift could make history tonight, but will it be at the expense of Beyonce? Why there's speculation Swift could say more than simply thank you on stage at a show known for some of its wild moments. That's next. So the countdown to the VMAs is now officially on, with the big awards show kicking off just like 2 hours from now. Big question tonight, is Taylor Swift going to make history? And could she break Beyonce's record for the most VMAs ever? We still don't know if Swift is actually going to be there for the whole thing. We know that Chappell Roan will be. Sabrina Carpenter is set to be there as well, in fact. And tonight, we're also going to hear a whole lot about Taylor Swift, who notably announced, as we mentioned earlier in the show, that she does plan to vote for Vice President Kamala Harris, an announcement she made less than 24 hours ago. You just saw her Instagram post there. Huge, monster celebrity endorsement, meaning there may be a lot of discussion politically on stage tonight if, in fact, Swift does take that Moon Man Award if she shows up in person. Let me get right to Chloe Malas, who is joining us now. Okay. Oh, my gosh, you're there. I thought you were in the studio. Tell me everything. What is the vibe? What is the deal? Tell us all of it.
Hallie, I am here in Long Island, and as you can see, people are starting to line up in front of the UBS Arena. Thousands of teens are waiting to see potentially Taylor Swift, like you said, Beyonce. The show starts in about 2 hours on MTV, and I gotta say, it's one of those nights, Hallie, where there are so many water cooler moments the next day, so many controversial things, so many outlandish things, so many things happen in the speeches, and I do want to talk about the performances. Eminem, he's going to be kicking off the show for the first time opening the MTV VMAs in 14 years. You're going to see rockers like Lenny Kravitz take the stage, hip-hop legend LL Cool J, and like you just said, remember Pop Girls Spring? You're going to see people like Chappell Roan, Sabrina Carpenter take the stage here at the VMAs for the very first time. And so that is going to be incredibly exciting. And then someone I'm excited to see is Katy Perry. She is going to be accepting the coveted Video Vanguard Award, and she has a 10-minute performance. She already gave an interview saying that she's going to try to cram as many hits as possible. And then a shout out to our NBC News colleague over at the Today Show, Carson Daly, an MTV icon himself. He's going to be presenting, I hear, a pretty big category tonight.
So, do you have the inside track on that, given that he is one of our... No, you know what? I'm not going to ask you. I don't want to put your sourcing in jeopardy, Chloe. So listen, is there any indication... obviously, the sort of Taylor Swift of it all is really interesting tonight. The Beyonce of it all is interesting tonight. Any indication that Swift's going to show up? Do we know?
She's been in New York. She's been spotted all over at the U.S. Open. She's been with her boyfriend, Travis Kelce. So it seems likely that she stayed because she's leading the way tonight, Hallie, with 12 nominations. And she could break 2 records. One of them, she could actually beat Beyonce's record for the most VMAs ever won. Beyonce has 25 Moon Men, is what the statues are called. Taylor Swift only has to win 3 of her 12 nominations tonight to beat Beyonce's record. Also, she could win Video of the Year for Fortnite, that awesome music video that she did with Post Malone. And if she wins that, she'll be the first artist to win that category 3 years in a row. And then obviously, is she going to say anything political if she takes the stage?
I got to tell you, this VMA discussion, it is like a millennial core, Chloe, right? Like me and you were the same age. I watch TRL every day after school.
We are. I am going to be going in tonight, and if I could go back and tell like my 17 or 16-year-old self, she would be freaking out.
Chloe Malas, live for us there in New York. Chloe, thank you so much. Appreciate it. That does it for us this hour. More coverage continues right now. And I want to go back to our lead story now. We've got some breaking news coming into us as we speak. Hurricane Francine, that storm that has now strengthened into a Category 2, has made landfall. Let's go to an NBC special report.
Network with breaking news. Hurricane Francine has been upgraded to a powerful Category 2 storm. It has just made landfall on the Louisiana coast southwest of New Orleans. You can see right there that New Orleans and Baton Rouge are both expected to get some of the worst of the storm. Winds right now churning at 100 miles per hour. Francine is blasting the coastline right now with strong winds and drenching rain. It has already spawned off tornado warnings. Though Louisiana is used to direct hits, there are real concerns here of catastrophic flooding and mass power outages as the evening wears on. Let's go right to senior national correspondent Tom Yamas in New Orleans. Describe the conditions, Tom.
Good evening, Lester. Just as we came on with this special report, the wind gusts started to pick up here. This feels about tropical storm style wind gusts, but those hurricane force wind gusts should pick up in the next hour or so as that Hurricane Francine, inches closer and closer to the Big Easy. Just behind me here is Lake Pontchartrain. As you know, New Orleans is sandwiched between this massive lake and the Mississippi River, and that's why the surge from Lake Pontchartrain is the biggest concern right now, and of course that the levees hold up. We've been out and about all over New Orleans today. Firefighters having to deal with a fire while they prepare for this hurricane. This was in the Bywater district, and as the first rain bands, were coming off Hurricane Francine, these firefighters were inside of a structure. The entire roof almost burned off. It's still unclear what started that fire, but it just goes to show what these first responders are up against right now. And that's why in many parts of Louisiana, in southern Louisiana, there is a curfew. Just behind me here, there are no cars here. Earlier in the day, there were a lot of people that were out here, looky-loos, if you will, trying to see what was going on, because it wasn't so bad in New Orleans. I got to say, right now, it has just really picked up because it has been very calm. It has felt like a thunderstorm in New Orleans up until this point, and that's because just south of us, Hurricane Francine is getting closer and closer. 2,300 National Guard have been activated right now in the state of Louisiana. There are sporadic power outages, but they are expecting mass power outages eventually through the night, because this really is going to be a nighttime storm, a nighttime event, and that can be dangerous for first responders and really for the people that live here in Louisiana. I just got off the phone with a captain of the police department in Morgan City. They were rescuing a family that their trailer had been knocked over by the winds. Again, they are approaching the eye right now, and they're really feeling the brunt force of Hurricane Francine, if you will. He said by and large people were off the roads, but he wanted to get one message out. Please follow the curfew. It is just too dangerous out there. So dangerous that there's no visibility. The wind is so strong. They've pulled all their units out except in extreme situations where they have to rescue people. That's the latest right now from New Orleans as the wind gusts are starting to pick up and the rain is endless. Lester, I'm going to send it back to you.
We're seeing some of that video of the storm surge effects. All right, Tom Yamas, thanks. NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns has the latest. Where is this going?
Lester, it's about 90 miles wide in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, and that means that whole area, which includes a lot of people, has at risk of losing power, down trees, wind damage to roofs, and that's what we're going to be tracking. You can see how large the eye is here. So here's New Orleans here, and this bright red shows you where the strongest winds are. That's where we have the potential for gusts for 80 to 100 miles per hour. That's what's been happening in Morgan City and Houma, Louisiana over the last hour, but that is tracking northward. So we have our eye on New Orleans only about 30 miles from that band. So that's roughly about 2 hours from now. It's going to be a close call if this goes through New Orleans or the western portions of New Orleans and up towards La Place and then up towards Baton Rouge. Definitely going to go through whatever's left of this eye. That's where the most significant damage is going to be, and that's where the most people are going to lose power. So for New Orleans specifically, the worst of the weather now through about 11 p.m. I mentioned about 2 hours from now is when we should have a dramatic increase in the winds, and that would probably be the time when people start beginning to lose power in the downtown area and the suburbs. And as far as rain totals go, it's going to pour quickly, about 4 to 6 inches of rain, about 75-mile-per-hour winds are possible, and isolated tornadoes. And, of course, we're going to affect this entire region, Lester, as we go throughout the rest of the day and the rest of the night. And winds anywhere above 50 have a chance for power outages. This will be widespread. That little upgrade from a Category 1 to 2 doesn't sound like much, but hundreds of thousands of more people are going to lose power because of it.
And you mentioned tornadoes. Those will be all across the affected area?
It's mostly going to be in eastern Louisiana and also southern portions of Mississippi. We haven't had any yet, but we still have the potential for getting isolated ones as we go throughout the evening. And, of course, flash flooding. We still have our first flash flood warnings. That was with that red blob, that eye that was moving onshore. We'll be tracking those flash flood warnings northwards as we go throughout the rest of the evening, too, and eventually into Mississippi tomorrow. So, again, the worst of the storm has moved onshore. This is now no longer really forecasting it. Now we're tracking who's going to get the worst damage.
All right, Bill Cairns, thanks very much. I want to go to Jesse Kirsch. He's in downtown New Orleans in the famed French Quarter. Jesse, we just heard you may be a couple of hours from the brunt of the storm, but what are you seeing already in downtown New Orleans?
Yeah, Lester, the rain is starting to pick up again. We've had pretty steady wind gusts. I just checked a measure of that, and we're getting wind gusts to around 15 miles per hour downtown. For context, for people who've been in New Orleans on a vacation, perhaps, Bourbon Street is back that way and runs in that direction. I want to give you an idea, though, of what we're seeing downtown. I'm just going to cross the street here and make sure there are no cars, and there shouldn't be, of course, because officials want people staying home. This gives you an idea of what the winds are doing to some of the trees. You can see how they're blowing around out here. We have still seen people out on the streets in cars. In fact, there's one doing a loop back there right now. We've seen people walking around, but largely it has been quiet out here. And officials have asked people as of noon Eastern time. That's when they had told people to be sheltering in place. We heard the governor say earlier as well, we're well past the point of evacuations. Now is the time to be bunkering down, to be ready to ride out the storm. And again, earlier we'd been expecting the track to take the storm to the left of New Orleans. So New Orleans being on the right side of the storm, but now modeling is showing that we could be having a direct hit here in New Orleans, Lester.
All right, Jesse Kirsch, you and your crew stay safe. That concludes this NBC News special report. We'll have much more ahead on our streaming network, NBC News Now, online at NBCnews.com, and tonight on Nightly News. I'm Lester Holt. I'll see you then. Meantime, thank you for watching.
We are back with more of that breaking news you just watched on NBC News. Hurricane Francine slamming into coastal Louisiana as a Category 2 storm. You saw it there with Tom, with Jesse, those heavy rain, the high wind spreading as the storm barrels its way inland. It seems to have its sights set directly on Morgan City. That's just south of Baton Rouge, right in the middle of that swampy area there, right along the coast. And I say that because it's vulnerable to storm surge. It is vulnerable to flash flooding. And in some parts, it is already really saturated from a lot of rain over the course of the last week. Let me bring in Gary Driscoll, the sheriff there in St. Mary Parish. Sheriff, thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Let me start with what you're seeing on the ground. Give us a sense of what that's like.
Right now, the winds are picked up tremendously. We pulled all the deputies in for safety reasons. It's a lot of rain. We have trees down, power lines down, power outages, and we're just trying to keep everyone safe.
Are you expecting a direct hit?
Yes, it seems like it's a direct hit coming over us right now.
What did you tell people as far as preparations, as far as what to get ready for? Do you think people heard that message?
But yeah, we told them to stay in their homes, stay tuned into the local news channels so that they can be updated as well. Allow us to do our jobs. Of course, have food, water for the next few days because it looks like we may be out of power for a few days. Just be safe.
Those extended power outages, is your expectation that that's going to be 24, 48 hours? Are you concerned that that could stretch even longer towards the end of the week?
I think so. It could easily happen. I'm thinking at least 48 hours.
Okay. Are you prepared for that? Do you believe that folks there are ready, that they have the supplies they need?
I think so. I mean, we've been doing this for years. They're well prepared. They have the experience, and you know, the people of St. Mary Parish is always ready for these storms.
We've seen the National Guard deployed in your neck of the woods there over the course of the day. How critical is that to making sure that you all get through this okay?
It's always a blessing to have the extra support and manpower that we need to protect our citizens, to help our citizens in this time of need. So it's a great benefit.
Sheriff, what is your message to people in your community at the moment?
Stay home, stay inside, stay safe.
Okay. Sheriff, you've been there a long time. Give me a sense. Listen, we know that this isn't a Category 5. We understand that, right? I want to put this into the proper context here. It is still more than a little bit of drizzle, right? How does this compare with some of the storms that you've weathered where you are?
But this is probably the worst storm we've had in a while. We've been very lucky here in St. Mary Parish. But we have had our hard ones too. I was here for Andrew, and, nothing compares to that one. But, you always have to be safe. You always have to do the right things. Yeah. And just stay indoors.
Okay. Sheriff Driscoll, we appreciate your time. I know you got a lot going on. You're juggling a lot. Thank you very much for being with us tonight as we're staying on top, of course, of all of these developments there down along the Gulf Coast. Thank you, Sheriff. We're also following developments out west, where officials in L.A. say 3 people had to be rescued tonight in an area just outside Mount Baldy. They got trapped because of this huge bridge fire. They apparently couldn't get on any roads because of where the flames were, so officials said they had to be airlifted out. No word yet on whether that happened, if that's how they got out, if they managed to come out on the ground. But again, they are safe. That is what we are hearing from officials in just the last few minutes here. It gives you a sense of just how dangerous these fires are. Yes, fires, plural, because there's a ton of wind. It is very dry. There are 3 huge wildfires that have erupted in just the last few days. There's the bridge fire that exploded exponentially, more than 10 times what it was just a single day ago. You've also got now 2 other major wildfires burning something like 48,000 acres. In all, more than 70 big fires are burning across the western United States. Morgan Chesky is there. He is joining us now. We have some new information now about what might have actually started one of these fires, right? The line fire. Give us a sense of that and what you're seeing on the ground.
Yeah, Hallie, this was the fire that really took a lot of people by surprise earlier this week, only to be replaced by the bridge fire, which exploded overnight. But regarding that fast-moving line fire blaze, authorities confirming in the last several hours that a man has been taken into custody. He's currently being held without bail in San Bernardino, and they believe that he is the sole person responsible for the line fire, Hallie, a significant blaze in its own right. And not only that, but we had a chance to hear from investigators earlier today who believe that upon further investigation, this man may be tied to even more fires burning or that have burned in California. Incredibly heartbreaking news. Meanwhile, on the bridge fire front, we're outside of Wrightwood, California, Hallie, and unfortunately, we're seeing too many scenes incredibly similar to this one. This was a 2-story home up until about 48 hours ago. This is all that's left behind. The only good news here, Hallie, is that the homeowner was able to safely evacuate, get away from this scene as those flames tore through this area last night. We know that evacuations were very fast. People had to grab whatever they could and get out when those flames moved in during darkness. Hallie? Is there any sense that there might be a shift in the weather over the course of the next couple of days to help firefighters get a handle on this? Yeah, there is a crossing of fingers, and there's a change in temperature in that we've seen temps drop by about 20 degrees. We were pushing triple digits earlier this week. Now it's significantly cooler. As for any potential rainfall that could help firefighters, that remains to be seen. But there is a lot of gratefulness in the fact that crews aren't getting as taxed as easily due to that incredibly high heat. Hallie, 2 quick things. I spoke to crews cutting fire line just a few hours ago. I said, how long have you guys been working? They said since 7 p.m. yesterday. Wow. Already a more than 15-hour shift there. And something that really touched my heart, the one business open in Wrightwood today, a coffee shop. I saw firefighters walking inside. They came out. They said that residents have been calling into that coffee shop saying, whatever firefighter walks in, put them on my bill. I'll settle up next time I see you. I mean, that's cool, right? You're looking out for the people who are looking out for you. Morgan Chesky, thank you for that. Absolutely. I appreciate that silver lining. We're going to keep an eye, of course, on that story as we also watch what's happening back where we are at home in Washington, because just across the river, we're getting in some new video now of President Biden and Vice President Harris at the Pentagon at a 9/11 wreath-laying ceremony there.
for the 23rd anniversary, of course, of those attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people. It's coming just hours after we saw the president, the VP, former President Trump, his running mate, J.D. Vance, all together. Look at this image here at a ceremony in New York at Ground Zero. What an interesting moment here, especially coming at this point, something like 16 hours, not even, after that debate between these rivals, a debate that a ton of people watched. I'm willing to bet you watched it, or at least part of it, because nearly 70 million people did. 67 million people, according to Nielsen. That's the most in more than a decade. So there's this big question now. Are we going to see round two? Will there be another debate before Election Day in November? We're not really sure. There's no hard and fast answer, nothing on the schedule. But Vice President Harris's team says, hey, we're open to it. The former President Trump initially said, nah, I don't think so, essentially. I don't need to. In his view, he said, I won. Now he seems to be opening the door to a debate. So if one of the major themes of last night was former President Trump taking the bait, the theme for tomorrow for both sides is going to be putting their performances to the test. Look at this map. They are in battleground states, of course, from Arizona to Pennsylvania and beyond. North Carolina as well. All of it, as state election officials are starting to warn that there may be a disruption because of mailing issues that could affect those mail-in ballots for voting, ballots that are set to go out next week. We've got team coverage tonight. Yumi Shalcindor is standing by in Springfield, Ohio, but I want to start with Peter Alexander at the White House. What's so interesting here is as we look ahead to what's next. Yes, it's this sort of battleground barnstorming that you're going to see from these candidates. It's that vice presidential debate on October 1st. And then it's question mark debate number 2. Former President Trump has had a shift even in just the last 19 hours, at first suggesting he didn't want to because in his belief, he won so bigly, to paraphrase it. Vice President Harris said, we'll do it. Now the former president seems to be opening the door to it. Where do things stand based on the reporting that you're doing here?
Yeah, bigly, clearly an adverb for those of you planning to use it at home here. It's not really clear where things stand right now. We can only speak to what we've heard from the former president on this specifically. He spoke out about it last night, immediately after the debate, again today, this morning, and this afternoon, saying now he feels less inclined to do another debate after in the past saying that he was in favor of multiple debates. Here's part of what we heard from the former president just a short time ago. Listen.
I would do NBC. I'd do Fox, too. I do Fox too, but right now we have to determine whether or not we even want to do it. We had a great night last night.
Are we going to do a rematch? I just don't know. We'll think about it. That's what else he said in the course of those comments a little bit earlier to reporters while he was on the road in advance of a memorial at the Shanksville site in Pennsylvania today. So where does it stand, Hallie? Candidly, we just don't know at this hour. Yeah. Obviously, there were those advisors, those allies of the former president who say he needs to do another to make up for an effort that they thought was certainly subpar last evening.
One of the things that the vice president's team loves to see here is this big celebrity endorsement. Everybody knows, I think, by now that Taylor Swift came out, said she is going to back the Harris-Walz ticket. Interestingly, we're finding out, because this question exists, right? Does that matter? What does that mean from a very quantifiable perspective here? We're getting a sense of it now with the GSA, the General Services Administration, telling our team that more than 330,000 people ended up on vote.gov from the link that Taylor Swift posted. Yep. Hundreds of thousands of people are reading and paying attention and, in some instances, acting on what she's telling them to do. How much is the Harris camp looking at that and going, boy, let's get her ready for October?
Well, they certainly think it doesn't hurt them. Frankly, I think they think that maybe in a better circumstance it would have come out on a different occasion because in some ways it sort of gets buried by her debate performance there. But the bottom line is they are going to take this as a win and do the best that they can to amplify it. There is no indication to this point whether, in fact, Taylor Swift is going to participate in any further or any campaigning of any kind here. She said her decision in speaking out was because she had real concerns. One of her biggest nightmares, she said, was that there would be AI used to sort of indicate she was supporting someone else. You remember in recent weeks there was some AI indications that she would be supporting Donald Trump. The Trump campaign had touted as much, so she came out. But they can do a lot, the campaign can, with this very photo, the cat in her arms, and the way she signed off that post to her 284 million followers. Hallie was Taylor Swift childless cat lady, so it certainly has the tentacles, the paws, I guess you would say, that it could resonate.
Pause indeed. Obviously, this all comes down to persuading voters. That's what this is about. The question is, did the debate do anything to persuade voters? Our friend and colleague Shaquille Brewster was out, Shaq, talking to folks, trying to get a sense just today, right, new today, on how they feel. What changed, if anything, for them? Let me play a little bit of what Shaq heard.
She hit it out of the park. I mean, I think she rattled him from the very beginning, and it felt like he was always on the defense responding to her.
I think it was a little heavy on poking at each other rather than getting to the actual terms of what we needed to hear about how to run America.
So that's what you're hearing from some of these folks who are looking at these super high-profile moment, as we said, more than 60 million viewers last night. That's a massive audience, Peter. It dwarfs the DNC and the RNC, which are hovering right around 25, 26 million.
I think you're right, and not only is it those people who watch, but honestly the conversations they have with others as well. Both campaigns realize that this is going to be one of those debates decided, one of those elections decided at the margins, where they're hoping not just their supporters will come out and vote, but their supporters will bring others with them throughout all parts of this country here. I think what's been striking in my conversations and what I've been watching from our conversations with some of those undecided voters is it appears right now that after Harris's strong performance last night, that they are certainly more open to giving her a look. It's not clear whether they're willing to give her their endorsement or their vote just yet. It means there's still some time to make decisions. But as you know, the voting process begins soon. This is no longer a country that votes on Election Day. They vote for the weeks and even more than a month ahead of time. This process kicks off very soon in earnest, Hallie.
Hey, Peter, real quick before I let you go, what's up with this picture of President Biden in a Trump hat?
It's a good question. Let's throw it up for our audience so you can see it. Not something you ever anticipated seeing. The Trump War Room, one of his advocacy groups, as it were, from the campaign, writing, "Thanks for the support, Joe." The White House making it very clear that Joe Biden was not endorsing Donald Trump in any way. In fact, he was in Pennsylvania saying in a show of unity on this 9/11 day that he was willing to wear a hat that was presented to him by a Trump supporter in the room. He put it on briefly and then returned it to that supporter. So for those who see this, we are told it's not AI, but in no way does it demonstrate any support for Donald Trump.
Peter Alexander doing some blocking and tackling there in the White House, covering quite a bit for us tonight. Peter, thank you. We're also covering what's happening in Springfield, Ohio, and some of the headaches there after former President Trump poured gasoline on this baseless claim that is rooted in a racist conspiracy theory, repeating in front of an audience of millions that migrants, again, this baseless claim, are kidnapping and eating pets of people in town, the dogs and cats of Springfield's locals. The Springfield city manager says there is zero evidence of that, and earlier today said this is not what he wants his city to be known for. Listen.
It is disappointing that some of the narrative surrounding our city has been skewed by misinformation circulating on social media and further amplified by political rhetoric in the current highly charged presidential election cycle.
Mr. Trump's comments coming after days of this online rumor spreading that Haitian migrants in Springfield were attacking people's pets. This rumor pulled out of the internet's dark corners and elevated to the mainstream, amplified in a post by J.D. Vance, of course, Mr. Trump's running mate. NBC's Yamiche Alcindor is in Springfield for us tonight. So you have been working on this for the course of the last 48 hours, ever since this kind of exploded onto the national scene. There is a growing Haitian community in the city, and I know you've been talking with members of that community. Walk us through the dynamics here. What do we need to know, and what have you heard today?
Well, people here, Haitian immigrants here, are really reeling from these baseless claims, these unfounded claims being spread by Donald Trump and other Republicans, former President Trump and other Republicans. And they tell me that they came legally here to Springfield because of the federal programs that allowed them to come into the United States from Haiti. But they also came here because the city itself was advertising new manufacturing jobs as well as its affordability. So they were trying to get people to move to Springfield, and that's how this Haitian population got here. And now people are feeling really pained and shocked by what they're hearing. Take a listen to one Haitian community leader who talked to me specifically about Donald Trump and the consequences of his words. Take a listen.
They just believe that their words have no impact, and it's not true. So immigrants in Springfield, especially Haitians, they're also concerned for their lives.
So is this really a trauma on top of a trauma for Haitian immigrants?
Definitely, that's what it is. I mean, they are normally put on us more than what we have been through before.
So many people came here fleeing gang violence and insecurity in Haiti, and then had to start their lives all over. So people who maybe were doctors are now working in factories. So people were already having a hard time, but trying to adjust because they did see Springfield as a welcoming place. But now they're really worried about harassment. I talked to a number of Haitian immigrants who didn't even want to go on camera because they said that people are at their jobs asking them, do you eat cats? And their neighbors are also harassing and threatening them, saying that they shouldn't be here anymore. So a tough situation here, as there are a number of residents here who are believing what are really baseless claims about, of course, Haitians abusing animals. Hallie.
So you talk about this baseless claim, right, rooted in a racist conspiracy theory. How did it get into the info ecosystem, if you will? How did it end up from like sort of the rumor mill and sort of the weird parts of the internet to a nationally televised debate stage?
Well, first off, there was an unrelated case of a woman who was not Haitian, who was actually a U.S. citizen, who was involved in a case dealing with some gruesome issues with a cat. That then was taken into the kind of conservative conspiracy theory land,
right?
And it was then started turning into this, yes, and it was not even in Springfield, it was in Canton, Ohio. And then you had J.D. Vance, Senator J.D. Vance, spread that baseless claim, talking about the fact that he had heard from constituents and from others that Haitians were kidnapping cats and eating animals. And then, of course, we saw former President Donald Trump repeat those same claims on the national debate stage. And that was really where you saw this really amplify and blow up. And now people here in Springfield are saying that that's just not true. The city officials saying there's no evidence for that, though they do say they do want more resources for the influx of Haitians that have come, of something like 15,000 of them. But they're saying that they want to welcome these people and that they're not a problem. Hallie.
Yamiche Alcindor live for us there in Springfield. Yamiche, thank you so much for being there. Appreciate that. We got a lot more to get to here on the show, including, of course, that big headline tonight. Hurricane Francine now slamming into the Gulf Coast. We're going to come back with the fire chief of Baton Rouge about how his team is getting ready for the potential for more rescues tonight. That's right after the break. Stay with us. Back to our top story now. Hurricane Francine making landfall along the Gulf Coast as a Category 2 storm. Kathy Park is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we know that there is a risk for these dangerously high winds, for the potential for a ton of rain there, Kathy, where you are. This is a place that is not unfamiliar to very bad flooding, thinking back to 2019 to 2016. Walk us through some of the dynamics that you're seeing now.
Yeah, so we are here in downtown Baton Rouge, Hallie, and right now I can tell you the conditions have worsened probably within the past hour. The rain is really coming down. The winds have certainly picked up, but this really is just the beginning because this is a long-duration storm. We'll be tracking these conditions probably until midnight, but this is a ghost town right now here in Baton Rouge. A lot of the businesses have been closed pretty much today. A lot of them closed even yesterday. The governor has encouraged residents here in Baton Rouge and beyond to basically hunker down. Don't go anywhere during the storm. And then even after the storm passes, Hallie, it's a good idea to kind of stay put because he wants the emergency responders, utility crews to get to work, so not to interfere with what they're doing. This vehicle actually pulled in also within the past hour, and this is a federal vehicle, and we're told that it holds emergency equipment. So federal agencies, also state and local resources are coming together. They're monitoring the storm very closely, and they will be throughout the evening, and then they will mobilize as needed. We heard from the mayor of Baton Rouge early this morning, and she says that she's pretty confident that the infrastructure here can handle the floodwaters because in advance of Francine, they cleared out the drains, pulled out roughly 30 tons of debris. So a lot of debris, and they feel like the drains can handle all that extra water. But yeah, in 2016, you mentioned that year, a lot of the residents who we spoke with here in Baton Rouge, they're pretty much traumatized by that event in the summer of 2016. This area was inundated with rain. There was a system that stalled. This area got dumped with 20 inches of rain. So flooding was a big concern, and obviously they don't want a repeat of that. So a lot of the residents know that preparation is key, and they didn't waver with Hurricane Francine. So we saw a lot of the prep work days in advance.
Let me bring in now the fire chief there, Michael Kimball. Chief Kimball, thank you very much for joining us. Give us a sense of what you're seeing on the ground right now and your biggest concern at the moment.
Well, what we're seeing right now in the city of Baton Rouge is the rain is picking up. There is a little wind that's also coming in. So we should start seeing some uptick of the weather here in the near future from what the current radar is showing us.
What's the thing you're bracing for the most as fire chief, as one of the first responders here in this community?
What we're bracing for is to be able to provide the service we need to our citizens. We anticipate with some wind damage, some possible structural collapse, those type of responses. We have our teams in place to be able to respond to those incidents. It's just kind of a sit and wait for us, but we're very much prepared and well trained and qualified to handle these tasks that come at us.
There have been some reports that some folks in your city have had trouble getting their hands on generators here. What can you tell us about that? Has that been the case?
So I'm not very familiar if that's the case or not. We've been focusing on providing the service here to the people for emergencies. So I'm really not sure on the generators, ma'am.
Got it. Power outages, though, do you think people are prepared if that were to last, past 48 hours, et cetera? Do you feel like folks are having a sense of what they need?
I do believe, because we're this is not the first time we've experienced this in our city.
That's right.
We've been out doing a lot of PR work, trying to give the information to the citizens what to do. This is kind of another situation our people are prepared for. So we feel comfortable people know how to handle that situation if they do lose power.
What about, sometimes we see some of these images here of people in their homes, cars stuck in water, et cetera. You've got the rescue resources ready to deploy?
That is correct. Our state urban search and rescue team is housed here out of Baton Rouge. We have that team here on site, as well as the men and women of the Baton Rouge Fire Department are all trained for all hazards. So we're very much prepared to handle that if that happens. We've, again, done a lot of education to our people through our local news outlets to, hey, educate people, don't go through high water, stay home.
That's right.
Just be smart at this point.
How many times do you say it, right? If you see something, you can't see the road, don't be driving into those huge puddles like that. It's going to be a long night, I fear, for you, Fire Chief Michael Kimball. Thank you very much for being with us. A lot of folks thinking about you tonight. Appreciate it. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day, and because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Midwest Bureau, Michigan's Attorney General closing the investigation into Michigan State University after the sex abuse scandal by former campus Dr. Larry Nassar. Remember, Nassar, who also worked for USA Gymnastics, is serving decades in prison for sexually abusing hundreds of young athletes. The investigation was looking into what the school might have known, with the state's AG saying they found no new incriminating evidence. Out of our Northeast Bureau, Justin Timberlake is expected to plead guilty to a lesser charge in court on Friday related to that intoxicated driving arrest in the Hamptons, according to a DA spokesperson. Remember, Timberlake was pulled over back in June for allegedly driving through a stop sign and then failing a sobriety test. At the time, he pleaded not guilty. His attorney has not immediately responded to NBC's request for comment. Also out of our Northeast Bureau, rescue crews pulling a man out of a marsh near Cape Cod after somebody heard his cries for help. He said he'd been stuck there. Listen to this. 2 days. They had to get chainsaws out to clear a path to be able to get him out. No word on how he ended up there, but fortunately, he's expected to be okay. Let's talk about one of these stars of the USA gymnastics team at the Olympics this year. Tonight, speaking publicly and emotionally in her first interview since being stripped of her bronze medal at the Paris Games. Here's Jordan Chiles.
The biggest thing that was taken from me was that it was the recognition of who I was. Not just my sport, but the person I am.
You can see she's really choked up there. There was that huge controversy. Remember, Chiles, given the bronze medal, awarded it in the women's floor exercise after her coaches, she hadn't wanted it first, her coaches filed this inquiry over the difficulty score, basically saying, well, wait a second, she did a harder routine than you think. She deserves a higher score. There was a whole back and forth, petitions, appeals, etc. She got the bronze at the time, then later was stripped of that first individual Olympic medal for her after the appeal that got her the bronze was overturned because it came in 4 seconds late. Yasmin Vasugian is joining us now. A whole thing, right? I mean, it was days after the competition that she ended up needing to return her bronze medal that she basically was going to go home with here. What else did she say about sort of the impact that this has had on her? You can tell it has some weight.
Could you imagine having to go through that, right? Receiving the bronze medal, the high of receiving that on the public stage at the Paris Olympics, the lows of having it taken away. She talks about the harassment that she faced online. By the way, she was speaking at the Forbes Power Women's Summit. She talks about, and we saw it there, Hal, right? As she kind of got choked up, the real extreme emotional toll this has taken it on her. She wants justice. She wants peace. And she actually believes this was about the color of her skin. Let's take more of a listen of what she had to say, and then we'll talk on the other side.
To me, everything that has gone on is not about the medal. It's about, you know, my skin color. It's about the fact that there were things that have led up to this position of being an athlete. And I felt like everything has been stripped.
By the way, this was the first time that she was speaking out since all of this has taken place. She talked about how, I mean, when you are an Olympic gymnast, you dedicate your entire life to training for an event like that on the world stage, and how this has also stripped her of her love for the sport of the Olympics. And she hearkened back to 2018 when she had an emotionally abusive coach and said at that time she had also lost love for the sport of gymnastics. And again, now she has lost love for the sport of gymnastics because of the controversy surrounding this. And again, she'd mentioned it. It's not just about the medal, but all the surrounding things that happen with the medal. And despite the fact that she mentions this, she got so much support on the national stage, it was hard for her to hear it because it was such a dark time for her. But she did say, as you would expect from a U.S. Olympian, she'll be back and she will rise again.
I was just going to ask you, did she say anything about signals for the next Olympics? Did she?
Yeah, she'll be back. She's going to rise again. That's the type of person you need to be to reach that type of pinnacle in your Olympic career.
Yasmin Vasugian, so interesting. Thank you for bringing that conversation to us. Appreciate it. Coming up, our team headed to Colorado, one of the few places, one of the few facilities performing so-called late-term abortions. What they found talking with doctors and patients in our original. To tonight's original now with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And tonight, it's abortions that happen later in pregnancies, a topic put very much back into the spotlight just last night at that debate when former President Trump was critical of them, claiming some happen even after the baby was born. To be clear, there is no such thing as a post-birth abortion. That is obviously illegal in every state. Abortions later in pregnancy generally make up a tiny fraction of all procedures. NBC News visited one of the few clinics across the country that still performs them, saying that they provide a service for women, the clinic says, in the most dire circumstances, women who they say often have no other choice, nowhere else to turn. Here's NBC's Dasha Burns.
Behind these doors is one of only 5 clinics in the country where women can access the rarest and most controversial form of abortion.
The majority of women who come to see you, what is their circumstance?
It ranges from the 12-year-old kid who's pregnant from her stepfather to the 45-year-old woman who desperately wants to have a baby and finds out that she has a fatal illness that is incompatible with being pregnant.
Dr. Warren Hearn and his team in Boulder, Colorado specialize in 2nd and 3rd trimester abortion.
Right. These are all layers of bulletproof glass?
Correct.
A practice that sparks backlash, even violence.
Have you had an attack here?
Yeah, there were 5 shots fired through the front window in 1988.
And is the subject of intense national debate. Those against the practice say it's simply too late in a pregnancy to terminate.
The Democrats are radical because the 9 months is just a ridiculous situation where you can do an abortion in the 9th month.
About 1% of abortions are performed after 21 weeks, according to a CDC study. Dr. Hearn says his clinic doesn't do abortions in the 8th or 9th months of pregnancy, and that they're extraordinarily rare across the country, only happening in an emergency hospital setting if there's a critical need for the patient. He tells us he doesn't want to do this work, but unforeseen circumstances create a need for it, and that strict abortion bans in red states are partly to blame for an increase in patients seeking him out because it's taking them longer to find care.
What is the emotional experience of the patients that come and see you?
Well, great distress and anguish.
How often are women coming to you when their life is at risk?
That's happened all the time.
Many of the women who come to Dr. Hearn are dealing with very wanted pregnancies that have gone very wrong, like the family that wrote Dr. Hearn this letter.
There are no words or gifts that can say thank you enough for what you've done for our family. This was the scariest, hardest thing I have ever experienced.
We visited that family, who asked we not use their last name out of privacy concerns. They live in Texas, where nearly all abortions are banned except in limited cases to save a woman's life or health. Last year, they tried to expand their family and conceived a daughter. Then, 24 weeks into the pregnancy, they received a tragic diagnosis, a severe fetal anomaly, and possible consequences for Emma's future fertility.
We looked at each other and immediately just knew, as husband and wife, that that was the best decision for our family to have an abortion. I think it's just something that you never, ever, ever think that will happen to you, or a decision that you will have to make, and then it just is earth-shattering when it falls into your lap.
Unfortunately, the immediate recommendation was to go out of state.
A year later, the couple became parents again to Louie, whom they call their miracle baby. But their loss has left a permanent mark.
My heart and mind have been forever changed about this issue in the worst way. It feels that abortion is essential health care. The second takeaway is to say that abortion bans, exceptions to abortion bans, don't work.
Right. Well, that helps.
But not all of Dr. Hearn's patients are in Emma's shoes. Some are pushed too late into unwanted pregnancies due to abortion bans or long wait times at clinics in the post-Roe era, like Willow, who asked us not to show her face and only use her first name for her safety.
There were no signs. I didn't realize that I was pregnant because my periods are irregular.
Why did you want to have an abortion?
One, I don't want to be a parent. Second, I can't afford it.
Low on funds, she went to the only place she could get a free pregnancy test and ultrasound, a religious nonprofit crisis pregnancy center that she says delayed her care after her positive pregnancy test.
But I had to then wait 2 weeks to get an ultrasound.
The ultrasound revealed Willow was 5 months into her pregnancy.
I was devastated and terrified.
Willow is from Colorado, where there are no gestational limits on abortion, but she still struggled to find a clinic with available appointments that could perform the procedure.
2 clinics had told me no, turned me away. When after the 3rd clinic I called, they told me no again because of how far along I was.
So if you had gotten that ultrasound sooner, you actually might not have been turned away by some of those clinics.
Yes.
Since Roe was overturned, 14 states have enacted near total abortion bans, and 4 more have bans after 6 weeks, according to the Guttmacher Institute, a nonprofit that tracks the data and supports access to abortions.
More than 50% of my patients come from red states where they can get no help.
As abortion remains a top political issue in 2024, Dr. Hearn vows to keep going.
It matters for the health of the woman. It matters for their families. It matters for our society, and now it matters for freedom.
Dasha Burns, NBC News, Boulder, Colorado.
Our thanks to Dasha for that reporting. Still to come here on the show, it is possible that Taylor Swift could make history tonight, but will it be at the expense of Beyonce? While there's speculation Swift could say more than simply thank you on stage at a show known for some of its wild moments. That's next. So the countdown to the VMAs is now officially on, with the big awards show kicking off just like 2 hours from now. Big question tonight, is Taylor Swift going to make history? And could she break Beyonce's record for the most VMAs ever? We still don't know if Swift is actually going to be there for the whole thing. We know that Chappell Roan will be. Sabrina Carpenter is set to be there as well, in fact. And tonight, we're also going to hear a whole lot about Taylor Swift, who notably announced, as we mentioned earlier in the show, that she does plan to vote for Vice President Kamala Harris, an announcement she made less than 24 hours ago. You just saw her Instagram post there. Huge, monster celebrity endorsement, meaning there may be a lot of discussion politically on stage tonight if, in fact, Swift does take that Moon Man award if she shows up in person. Let me get right to Chloe Malas, who is joining us now. Okay. Oh, my gosh, you're there. I thought you were in the studio. Tell me everything. What is the vibe? What is the deal? Tell us all of it.
Hallie, I am here in Long Island, and as you can see, people are starting to line up in front of the UBS Arena. Thousands of teens are waiting to see potentially Taylor Swift, like you said, Beyonce. The show starts in about 2 hours on MTV, and I gotta say, it's one of those nights, Hallie, where there are so many water cooler moments the next day, so many controversial things, so many outlandish things, so many things happen in the speeches, and I do want to talk about the performances. Eminem, he's going to be kicking off the show for the first time opening the MTV VMAs in 14 years. You're going to see rockers like Lenny Kravitz take the stage, hip-hop legend LL Cool J, and like you just said, remember Pop Girl Spring? You're going to see people like Chappell Roan, Sabrina Carpenter take the stage here at the VMAs for the very first time, and so that is going to be incredibly exciting. And then someone I'm excited to see is Katy Perry. She is going to be accepting the coveted Video Vanguard Award, and she has a 10-minute performance. She already gave an interview saying that she's going to try to cram as many hits as possible. And then a shout out to our NBC News colleague over at the Today Show, Carson Daly, an MTV icon himself. He's going to be presenting, I hear, a pretty big category tonight.
So, do you have the inside track on that, given that he is one of our... No, you know what? I'm not going to ask you. I don't want to put your sourcing in jeopardy, Chloe. So listen, is there any indication... obviously, the sort of Taylor Swift of it all is really interesting tonight. The Beyonce of it all is interesting tonight. Any indication that Swift's going to show up? Do we know?
She's been in New York. She's been spotted all over at the U.S. Open. She's been with her boyfriend, Travis Kelce. So it seems likely that she stayed because she's leading the way tonight, Hallie, with 12 nominations. And she could break 2 records. One of them, she could actually beat Beyonce's record for the most VMAs ever won. Beyonce has 25 Moon Men, is what the statues are called. Taylor Swift only has to win 3 of her 12 nominations tonight to beat Beyonce's record. Also, she could win Video of the Year for Fortnite, that awesome music video that she did with Post Malone. And if she wins that, she'll be the first artist to win that category 3 years in a row. Then obviously, is she going to say anything political if she takes the stage?
I gotta tell you, this VMA discussion, it is like a millennial core, Chloe, right? Like me and you were the same age. I watch TRL every day after school.
We are. I am going to be going in tonight, and if I could go back and tell like my 17 or 16-year-old self, she would be freaking out.
Chloe Malas, live for us there in New York. Chloe, thank you so much. Appreciate it. That does it for us this hour. More coverage continues right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.